Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 70, the whole chapter, and perhaps in the first class at least we'll get up through verse 24, and maybe more. And this is Lord Krishna's daily activities. Verse 1. Shri Shukavacha Atosas yupavittayam kukutan kuchito shipan vihita kantya patibir madhavya virahataraham. Shukadeva Goswami said, as dawn approached, the wives of Lord Madhava, each embraced around the neck by her husband, cursed the crowing roosters. The ladies were disturbed that now they would be separated from him. Mukamakarati vacharam bhangam lankayate virim yakipantamaham bande shri gurum janatarinam om jnana timirandasya gyananjara shivakaya chakshumanitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. So what do you remember from chapter 68? And I don't have the book, I don't know the title, but I think it was the marriage of Samba and Balaram, yes? What else? I think Balaram did something there. He has some pastime. Okay? She didn't want Samba.
It's not that she chose him.
Yeah. She didn't choose him. She didn't choose Samba. Very powerful.
And he was alone there.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? I did a little research on Samba. He's kind of famous, actually. It's interesting. Some things we don't know about him. That he learned the military art from Arjuna. He became a member of parliament during the time of Maharaj Yudhisthira. He was a member of Yudhishthira's parliament. He was present during Rajasuya's sacrifice of Maharaj Yudhisthira. When all the Vrishnis were assembled during the time of Prabhas Yagya, his glorious activities were narrated by Satyaki before Lord Baladev. He was present along with his father, Lord Krishna, during Ashwamedha Yagya performed by Yudhisthira. And finally, he was presented before some rishis falsely dressed as a pregnant woman by his brothers. And in fun, he asked the rishis what he was going to deliver. So that was Samba. The rishis replied he would deliver a lump of iron which would be the cause of fratricidal war in the family of Yadu. So Samba had a baby, and it was a lump of iron. So in those days, even men could have, not exactly the same. So then he delivered this lump of iron, and this was the cause of the death of all the others. Yes?
Last chapter of
10,000 elephants. He can strength. Thank you. Like Bhima. See, there's one more thing I have here about Samba. Maybe it's about something else. It's about that. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's how Balaram protected Samba. And so Prabhupada tells a story in the 6th canto, purport, about Ajamila. Somehow he talks about this whole story. And then at the end, Prabhupada says the purport is one should take shelter of Krishna Balaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose protective power is so great it cannot be equaled in the material world. So how to take shelter is by chanting the holy name, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, like that. However powerful the reactions of one's sins, they will immediately be vanquished if one chants the name of Hare Krishna, Balaram, or Narayan. So, okay, next chapter. Narada Muni is visiting all the different palaces of Krishna. What do you remember from that? That was quite an amazing pastime. Yes?
Lord showing different activities, not only one day.
Yeah.
Showing the different activities from the different years.
Different years. Oh, I thought it was different times of day. For all the.
Actually, it's actually one is taking care of child, another place.
He's getting married. Marriage.
Like different
Yeah,
places.
wow, that's really... The time has expanded somehow. Yes. Deep spiritual experience is when we can remember. So Narada won't forget what that... He won't forget that experience with Krishna. He will not forget. Wow. He gave him to remember. Yeah, realized. He showed his opulence. Yeah, he went and told everyone. Yeah, that's Narada Muni. Parvati? So by service he could understand all these different mystic activities by devotional service. Same thing with Jambavan. By his fighting he could understand who he was fighting with. Kalpit, did you have something to remember? The best way to meditate on Krishna. Anything else from chapter 69? Yes. Adipurush? Yeah, with time.
And all these...
Would I have this?
Same type of different...
Yeah, within a few moments he was in each palace. The whole 16,108 was within a few moments, or 1 moment or something, a few minutes.
At the same day.
Yeah, all the different times. What I have here?
In one palace.
Vishwanath Chakravarti, this means Krishna revealed within 1 moment the whole day of 60 Khadikas, including all its parts, starting with early morning and along all the corresponding activities. So all the time, every single moment of the day, he could see in the 16. He saw 16,108 different minutes
How
of
did Narada get through all the palaces?
at the speed of mind. It says Vishwanath said he went at the speed of mind. So mind is very fast. I mean, his mind is faster than our mind. Our mind might go to 3 or 4 in a minute, but his went to 16,000. He has a spiritual mind. Yeah.
Krishna bathes his
Actually,
feet
wherever Narada
Yeah.
was, actually he invited newly. He didn't, so I saw him in Narada Palace. He didn't, so...
Yeah. Krishna said Krishna showed that it was like the first time. Yeah, I mean, you can't even understand it with your mind, what they were doing, and he was going at the speed of the mind. 16,108 at the same time, I mean, sort of consecutively, almost at the same time,
And also,
and different times of day.
even though he could see them, people in the other parts of the city
Couldn't see.
them if it wasn't their part.
Yeah, it's only if you're in that part you could see. Yeah?
Also, it's interesting that
Yeah.
don't be disturbed.
Don't be disturbed.
Because just like father doesn't mind having to feed his child and his...
Right.
So I also don't mind.
Yeah, and he said last time when you came to me in Vrindavan, I couldn't do it because I was a cowherd boy or something. He says I couldn't really do that when I was. I couldn't follow it when I was a cowherd boy. So now I'm able to. Yes.
So, as a king, he had to do some duties.
Hmm.
He was seeing everywhere
Yeah.
some affairs going on.
He was in disguise.
In disguise. So, by seeing that form, Narada Muni mildly laughed there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, he thought that was funny. I've got something here you probably didn't hear in my contribution from Bihar Bhagavatamrita. Did he read from? So I'll tell you one thing. Because how to get to Krishna's palaces was very, very difficult. Because here it says, as the road to the inner city approached the royal quarters, it assumed a bewildering appearance. It's not like ordinary roads. You try to go to Krishna's palace. It took many unusual turns, making it a road ordinarily impossible for non-residents to follow. So how did Narada find his way? Of course, he probably flew, but I mean, it seems like he did go according to the roads. He managed because he had gone there many times before. He took the right roads even without paying attention. So it sounds like he was going by the road, according to Bihar Bhagavatamrita. He wasn't going by the air. Narada seemed oblivious of what he was doing and managed to arrive at his destination only because he was accustomed to the route. So, yeah, I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy. You can't just go straight, okay, there's Krishna's palace. It's like, there's a whole yogamaya going on there, so you can't find it. An ordinary person could not find how to get there. So there's one quality of Krishna, with his wives, and that is happy. Number 38. Any person who is always joyful and untouched by any distress is called happy. Do you know anybody like that? Maybe Sachinandan Swami, he's always smiling. Anybody else? Who? Rajbihari Prabhu. Rasikya, who just left. Okay. There's very few. You could probably count them on one hand. And who is not? Yes, always jolly.
Mandakini's like that.
Mandakini. As far as Krishna's enjoyment is concerned, it is stated the ornaments which decorated the bodies of Krishna and his queens were beyond the dreams of Kuvera, the treasure of the heavenly kingdom. The constant dancing before the doors of Krishna's palaces was not to be imagined even by the demigods in the heavenly kingdom. In the heavenly kingdom, Indra always sees the dancing of the society girls, but even Indra could not imagine how beautiful were the dances being performed at the gates of Krishna's palaces. Gauri means white woman, and Lord Shiva's wife is called Gauri. The beautiful women residing in the palaces of Krishna were so much whiter than Gauri. They were compared to the moonshine, and they were constantly visible to Krishna. Therefore, no one can be enjoying more than Krishna. The conception of enjoyment is beautiful women, ornaments, and riches. And all of these were fabulously present in the palaces of Krishna, defeating even the imagination of Kuvera, Lord Indra, or Lord Shiva. So happy. Krishna was happy in his palaces. So today we're going to hear about a day in the life of Krishna, a day in the life of God. Now, so many people, I would like you to try and think back before you became a devotee. Did anybody have a conception of what God was doing? Or if you believed in God, did anybody have any idea of what was God doing with his day? Anybody? Of course, the Indians might have some idea because they know. Those who didn't know Krishna. Like, I never even thought about it. Yeah, I thought, Yeah, Abai, did you have something? The Christian conception. Long beard, old man, sitting in a cloud, and watching everybody, watching everything, and telling the rain to rain and the sun to shine, and you die. Yes.
There with me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but what was he doing with you?
He was always protecting me and watching me.
Yeah, I had that feeling too, that I was being protected.
Yeah.
I had that feeling.
I never felt alone.
I had that feeling of protection as well. But what was he? Is that all he had to do with his life? Is just protect you?
That's how I felt.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, with that feeling we get. Yeah. But what does he do with his life? What does God do? What makes him happy? Of course, we have in Vrindavan, that's the highest, but this is the second highest, and many people have this conception of God as was the richest, like a king in a palace, of course, an old man, but we know that he never gets old. Even though he is the oldest, Navayodhanam Cha, he's always young. And his wives and they're also always young. They're always young, not more than 16. And even younger sometimes. We have the concept in Bhagavatam, even the Vishnu Dutas and the ones in Vaikuntha are Kishore, the age of Kishore, very young. So this is Krishna. So let's read. I'm going to read a little bit of introduction from Krishna book about God. From the Vedic mantras we learn, this is chapter 70, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has nothing to do. Natasya karyam karanam javidyate. But if the Supreme Lord has nothing to do, how can we speak of the activities of the Supreme Lord? From the previous chapter, it is clear that no one can act the way Lord Krishna does. We should clearly note this fact. The activities of the Lord should be followed, but they cannot be imitated. So today there will be some activities that we can follow, that Krishna will be doing, and some that we should not even think of imitating. So we'll have to, when we should hear selectively. Okay, this is something for me to do and this is something for me just to watch and praise Krishna for. For example, Krishna's ideal life as a householder can be followed. So we'll see what he does from dawn. But if one wants to imitate Krishna by expanding into many forms, that is not possible. We should always remember, therefore, that Lord Krishna, although playing the part of a human being, simultaneously maintains the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can follow Lord Krishna's dealings with his wives as an ordinary human being, but his dealings with more than 16,000 wives at one time cannot be imitated. The conclusion is that to become ideal householders, we should follow in the footsteps of Lord Krishna as he displayed his daily activities, but we cannot imitate him at any stage of our life. So that's why we heard the last chapter first, so you don't get any ideas of imitating. At the same time, in one moment, he's doing 16,108 different times a day. We can't even do this one time. We can't even be present in the moment. And he's in so many different times of day at once.
And that's only with the queens.
And that's only with the queens. There's so many universes, and then there's so many spiritual planets, and we can't. If we start thinking, our mind will explode. We can't even think about it or understand. We can't just have to accept it that this is how it is.
We can understand the meaning of
Param Bhokta, yes. Supreme enjoyer. Yeah, we can't even approach it. We just have these bodies which are, how much, if you put it on a scale, how much enjoyment and how much misery we get from the body, then misery will be here and enjoyment will be not very much. Mostly misery. Okay, so we're at the dawn. Now we are going to go through the day here, until he gets to the assembly house, and then we'll get stuck there. We won't go past his activities at the Sudharma assembly house because things will happen there. Well, we will start at dawn, where he is embraced by his wives. Purport: this description of Lord Krishna's daily activities starts with the crowing of the rooster. Anybody know what time the rooster starts crowing? I think here it says Brahma Muhurta. 3:30. You have roosters. I used to live in the village, and I don't remember. For 5 years, I lived in Goa. They had roosters.
There's several. They cry in several. They do it several times.
Different times. Okay.
So there is one. The last call is like 3:30.
3:30 is the last call. Oh, it's like an alarm clock. You keep putting it off and it keeps ringing. See, we don't need alarm clocks. Nature gives us, in the old days, that's why we sometimes think, what did they do without alarm clocks? Now we know. And they had even better. It will repeat so many times.
It's in the summer.
In the summer, yeah.
It's adjusted to the time of the dawn.
Isn't that perfect? Because Brahma Muhurta is when we're supposed to be up. Lord Krishna's daily activity starts with the crowing of the rooster. Lord Krishna's wives knew the Lord would dutifully get up and perform his prescribed morning rituals. Thus they were agitated at their coming separation from him and cursed the roosters. So Krishna book. Prabhupada says the same thing. Lord Krishna used to lie down with his 16,000 wives, but he would also rise from bed very early in the morning, 3 hours before sunrise. By nature's arrangement, the crowing of the cocks warns of the Brahma Muhurta hour. There is no need of alarm clocks. As soon as the cocks crow early in the morning, it is to be understood it is time to rise from bed. Hearing that sound, Krishna would get up from bed, but his rising early was not very much to the liking of his wives. The wives of Krishna were so much attached to him, they would lie in bed embracing him, and as soon as the cocks crowed, Krishna's wives would be very sorry and would immediately condemn the crowing. Okay. Now Prabhupada comments on the difference between Grihastha life and Grihamedi life. He said Grihastha life is when you get up early and go to Mangalarti, and Grihamedi life is when you get up, stay in your bed, get up at 7 o'clock or so when you have to go to work, stay in your bed, don't brush your teeth, have tea and whatever, and then read the newspaper, and then you go to work. So Prabhupada was saying that, and especially in Bombay, this was in Bombay, he was lecturing in 1974, and the Indian tenants and Juhu were complaining about our Mangalarti, that it's a disturbance to their sleep. It's a disturbance. And so Prabhupada, he was lecturing, he was in a morning walk, and he was talking on the verse of second canto, chapter 1, verse 2, how people have so many subject matters for hearing, thousands. So in the newspaper, thousands of varieties of news. And you ask them to come to Mangalarti, and they'll say, no, this is disturbing nonsense. And they got the complaint. They complained to the police, these people are disturbing our sleep at 4:30 in the morning. So this is Grihamedi. Griheshu Grihamedinam. Vedic culture is you rise early in the morning, and even Krishna, in his Grihastha life, he was getting up early. It's not just like Krishna made the rules and he didn't follow them. He also would get up. It's not that, we're just poor people down here. We have to follow these rules, get up early, take a bath. Well, not a cold bath, but in the freezing cold. Get up and go to Mangalarti. It's like, So Rukmini was disturbed because womanly nature, and again, immediately taking bath. Meditation. This is Vedic culture. Sleeping up to 7, and then unless you take your bed tea without washing your teeth, then he's advanced. And if you tell him, rise early and wash yourself, take your bath, go to Mangalarti, they say, oh, this is old ways, bhajan, nonsense. This is not modern. Modern is to get up late and be dirty and do all these things. So now we can listen in the next verse. There is a consecutive order of first comes the roosters, and next comes the bees, and then comes the birds. The bees buzzing, caused by the fragrant breeze from the Parijata garden, roused the birds from sleep. And when the birds began to sing loudly, they woke Lord Krishna, like court poets reciting his glory. So first the roosters crowed, then the bees started humming, and the bees woke up the birds, and the birds started singing, and Krishna got up. So this is very nice. Verse 3, lying in her beloved's arms, Queen Vaidarbhi did not like this most auspicious hour, for it meant she would lose his embrace. Purport. Sri Sridhar Swami explains the reaction of Queen Vaidarbhi, Rukmini Devi, shows the attitude of all the queens. So Krishna book. Although Srimati Rukmini Devi, the first queen of Lord Krishna, knew that Brahma Muhurta is the most auspicious time in the entire day, she would feel disgusted at the appearance of Brahma Muhurta, because she was not very happy to have Krishna leave her side in bed. Despite Srimati Rukmini Devi's disgust, Lord Krishna would immediately get up from bed exactly on the appearance of Brahma Muhurta. An ideal householder should learn from the behavior of Lord Krishna how to rise early in the morning, however comfortably he may be lying in bed embraced by his wife. Now this is for Grihastas. The verses 4-5. Lord Madhava would rise during Brahma Muhurta period and touch water. With a clear mind, he would then meditate upon himself, the single self-luminous, unequaled and infallible supreme truth, known as Brahman, who by his very nature ever dispels all contamination, and through his personal energies, which cause the creation and destruction of this universe, manifests his own pure and blissful existence. Purport. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out the word bhava in this verse indicates the created beings. Thus the compound word lakshita bhava near vritim means Lord Krishna gives pleasure to the created beings through his various energies. Of course, the soul is never created, but our material conditioned existence is created by the interaction of the Lord's energies. One who is favored by the Lord's internal potency can understand the nature of the absolute truth. This understanding is called Krishna consciousness. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains his energies are divided into inferior and superior, or material and spiritual potencies. The Nrm Sb further explains, what is that verse from Bhagavad Gita? We just heard Bhagavad Gita, inferior and superior potencies. What verse is that? Yakto Sanatana, okay. Also Apariyam, also Bhumirapo Nalovayu. Chapter 7 and chapter 8 we have. Okay. Brahma Samhita further explains, Material potency acts like a shadow, following the movements of the spiritual reality, which is the Lord Himself and His spiritual potency. So that's Shisti Stiti Palayasarana Shakti Rekha. Chayeva Yasya. So she's like a shadow of the spiritual potency. When one is favored by Lord Krishna, He reveals Himself to the surrendered soul. And thus, the same creation that formerly covered the soul becomes an impetus for spiritual enlightenment. Okay, give me a verse for that sentence. When one is favored by Lord Krishna, He reveals Himself to the surrendered soul. That part. What is a nice verse? Krishna, when He's favored. It doesn't have to be from Bhagavad Gita. Huh? 10:10. Yeah, that's good. Jeev. Okay. Bhakti Lata Bi. Guru Krishna Prasari Pai. Bhakti Lata Beach. That's from Chaitanya Charitamrita. By the mercy of Krishna and the devotee, one gets the seed of devotional service. I was thinking, Atakshi Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahimindriyai, that the material senses cannot perceive Krishna, but if you engage the tongue in service to Krishna, then He reveals Himself to you. He is revealed. Yeah. Oh, very good. Vitayutam, is that what you say? Yeah, the second of the Chaturshloki. Thus, the same creation that formerly covered the soul becomes an impetus for spiritual enlightenment. This is a very deep sentence. So that now we have so many obstructions and obstacles that we perceive them as obstacles and coverings, but actually the same covering can be an impetus for spiritual enlightenment. The same obstacles, the same coverings. We just have to, Krishna consciousness means we change the material energy to the spiritual. It's all spiritual, but we're seeing it as material. So we have to change our consciousness. So, comments by Srila Prabhupada on Brahma Muhurta hour. From a purport in the 3rd canto, this Brahma Muhurta, spiritual activities, during this time, spiritual activities are recommended. Spiritual activities performed early in the morning have a greater effect than in any other part of the day. Concerning Pratah Smriti, now Chaitanya Charitamrita, remembrance of the Lord in the morning, in the early hours, known as Brahma Muhurta, one should get up, immediately chant Hare Krishna mantra, or at least Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So the first thing when you wake up, you should be chanting Krishna's name, even before you get out of bed. In this way, one should remember Krishna. Some slokas or prayers should also be chanted. By chanting, one immediately becomes auspicious and transcendental to the infection of material qualities. Actually, one has to chant and remember Lord Krishna 24 hours a day. So when Prabhupada used to travel in India in 1970, he was in an indoor. And he was noticing that they were having a Mangalarti, but the Indian people were not coming. But he was getting so many invitations to come to their houses. So then one devotee said, well, we should tell them if you want to meet Prabhupada, you have to come at 5 in the morning. If they all want to meet and talk to Prabhupada. So he said, so Hansadutta he was saying yes. And Prabhupada said, yes, this is a test. If you cannot rise early in the morning, you're not spiritually serious. That is the test. This is a very auspicious time. So Hansadutta said, so I can tell everyone that wants a program to come at 5 o'clock. And Prabhupada, if someone wants a program, I say, come and see me at 5 o'clock. And then they will hear you and they'll have Mangalarti and they'll be more thoughtful. Prabhupada said, yes, tell them. You can say, if anyone wants to see us, please come at 5 o'clock early in the morning. Then I'll see how serious he is. So that was the test. There was another one, I think, when we were doing Ajamila. Then if he was saying that if you don't become Krishna, if you don't become a life member, then the Yamadutas will come and get you. That's another one. So if you want to be protected from the Yamadutas, you have to become a life member. Prabhupada knew how to make life members. So then there's a letter from Prabhupada to Radha Ballava about chanting japa. Chanting japa should be done early in the morning with full concentration, preferably during Brahma Muhurta time. Concentrate fully on the sound vibration of the mantra, pronouncing each name distinctly, and gradually your speed in chanting will increase naturally. Do not worry so much about chanting fast. Most important is the hearing. So now in Krishna book, Prabhupada gives a few more details about what Krishna did early in the morning. Here in this translation, it just said that Krishna touched water. Prabhupada says, Krishna would wash his mouth, hands, and feet. So it's a little bit different there. And I think Prabhupada would do that when he would get up early to translate. He wouldn't have his bath immediately. He would have it later. He'd just get up and translate, wash his mouth, hands, and feet. So if you can't sleep at night, if you have insomnia and you want to chant, then you can just wash your hands, mouth, and feet and start chanting your japa. Sometimes it happens. This does not mean, however, we should also sit down and meditate on ourselves. So here we don't imitate. We follow that we meditate on Krishna. Prabhupada says, Radha Krishna, that is real meditation. Krishna is Krishna, so he's teaching us that Brahma Muhurta should be utilized for meditation on Radha Krishna. But such meditation, Krishna would feel very satisfied. And similarly, we will also feel transcendently pleased and satisfied if we utilize the Brahma Muhurta period to meditate on Radha and Krishna. And if we think of how Shri Rukmini Devi and Krishna acted as ideal householders to teach the whole human society to rise early in the morning and immediately engage in Krishna consciousness. There is no difference between meditating on the eternal forms of Radha Krishna and chanting Maha Mantra. So when we chant, that's our meditation. That's our Brahma Muhurta meditation is our japa. Horse Mangalarti is also nice. You can actually see the forms, and then while you're chanting, you can remember what you saw. You can remember those forms of Radha and Krishna. Very beautiful. Covered with sweaters and chadars and so many things. This is very cold. As for Krishna's meditation, he had no alternative but to meditate on himself. The object meditation is Brahman Paramatma, or Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna himself is all three. Krishna is always one. For him, there is no differentiation. That is the difference between an ordinary living being and Krishna. So that is... Certain philosophers say when Krishna comes, he accepts a material body. But even if it is accepted, when he comes, he accepts a material body. Should be concluded also because the material energy is not different from him, the body does not act materially. Even if you say he accepts a material body, but for him there's nothing material. It acts spiritually. So therefore in Bhagavad Gita it is said he appears by his own internal potency, Atma Maya. So that's from Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada's comments. Now, Sarta Darshini, Vishnu Chakravarti says, just as another person meditates on Krishna at Brahma Muhurta, so Krishna meditated also upon himself beyond matter, Tamasa Param, the one Supreme Lord, the one who reveals himself, Swayam Jyoti. But it is also said others like Sankarshan are also the Lord. Yes, but there is no other avatar compared to him, Ananyam. And moreover, even though Sankarshan and other portions have eternal separate existence, Krishna is still complete, Avyayam. So this is the deeper meaning of some of these Sanskrit words here. Tamasaparam, Swayam Jyotir, Avyayam. Avyayam means like Swayam Bhagavan. The reason for his appearance is his mercy. By his direct presence, which all men can see, he removes ignorance. So if you go to Mangalarti and you see Krishna directly, then your ignorance is gone. You see Krishna face to face at Mangalarti, and your whole day is Mangala. The Lord's excellence is described. From him come all sorts of happiness, seen in the living entities. Lakshita Bhava Nirvritim. Through his energies which give knowledge and devotion and which create and destroy the universe. For the devotees, Krishna gives happiness by his bestowal of prema. For the followers of Dharma, he gives happiness by his careful observance of the rules of Dharma. And for the sinful, he gives happiness by killing them and giving them liberation. So it doesn't matter if you're sinful, if you're pious, or if you're a devotee, Krishna will make you happy if you follow Krishna. Of course, if you're a demon, he may kill you, but that's good for you too. That's really good. Verse 6, that most saintly of personalities would then bathe in sanctified water, dress himself in lower and upper garments, and perform the entire sequence of prescribed rituals, beginning with worship at dawn. After offering oblations into the sacred fire, Lord Krishna would silently chant the Gayatri mantra. So he didn't chant Gayatri right when he got up. He did it after his bath. But he did meditate on himself. Did meditation. Purport. Sridhar Swami points out, since Lord Krishna was in disciplic succession from Kamva Muni, he offered oblations to the fire before sunrise. Then he chanted the Gayatri mantra. So all these Kshatriya kings, they had their gurus, disciplic succession. This is the Yadu dynasty, this dynasty of Soma, the moon dynasty. Now, nectar of devotion, there is a quality of Krishna, and that is religious. How Krishna is religious. It is said because Krishna was constantly performing various types of sacrifices and was inviting the demigods from the higher planetary systems, the demigods are almost always absent from their consorts. Therefore, the wives of the demigods, regretting the absence of their husbands, began to pray for the appearance of Lord Buddha, Krishna's ninth incarnation, who appears in the age of Kali. In other words, instead of being pleased Lord Krishna had come, they began to pray for Lord Buddha, because Lord Buddha stopped the ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices recommended in the Vedas in order to discourage animal killing. So Krishna was doing so many sacrifices, they never saw their husbands. So therefore they prayed for Buddha to come and stop all these sacrifices. So at least the wives of the demigods are happy now, because now there's no more of these sacrifices going on. The demigods' wives thought if Lord Buddha appeared, all kind of sacrifice would be stopped, because their husbands would not be invited to such ceremonies and would not be separated from them. Sometimes it is inquired, why don't the demigods from higher planetary systems come to this earth planet nowadays? The plain answer is, since Lord Buddha appeared, began to deprecate the performance of sacrifice in order to stop animal killing on this planet, the process of offering sacrifices has been stopped, and the demigods do not care to come here anymore. So he was doing fire sacrifice first thing in the morning, and then he's going to, now in this verse, each day the Lord worshipped the rising sun and propitiated the demigod sages and forefathers who are all his expansions. So he was doing these right first in the morning. He was doing all these sacrifices for the demigods. The self-possessed Lord would then carefully worship his elders and the brahmanas. To those well-attired brahmanas, he would offer herds of tame and peaceful cows with gold-plated horns and pearl necklaces. These cows were also dressed in fine cloth, and the fronts of their hooves were plated with silver. So just imagine the cow, gold-plated horns, silver-plated hooves, gold on the top, silver on the bottom, pearls, pearl necklaces, clothes. Don't see them like that nowadays. Providers of abundant milk, they had each given birth only once and were accompanied by their calves. Daily, because unless you have the calf, the cow won't give milk. I mean, that's the Indian system, the Vedic system. In the West, it's different. They use machines, or I don't know what they do. But here, they have the calf, and they let loose the calf starts drinking, and then they put the calf in front, and then they take the milk. So that's why the cows go with their calves, of course. Daily, the Lord gave many groups of 13,084 cows to the learned Brahmins, together with linen, deerskins, and sesame seeds. So sesame seeds were quite popular with the Brahmins in those days. I don't know what did they do with them. I don't know. Cooking, sacrifice. Deerskins is for the floor also. We know even in Krishna's palaces they were sitting on deerskins. So that's their rugs. Purport. Sridhar Swami quotes several Vedic scriptures to show that in the context of Vedic ritual, a Badva here refers to 13,084 cows. The words Badvam Badvam Dine Dine indicate Lord Krishna would give the learned brahmanas many such groups of cows on a daily basis. Sridhar Swami further gives evidence that the usual practice for great saintly kings in previous ages was to give 107 such badava, or groups of 13,084 cows. Thus the total number of cows given in this sacrifice, known as manchara, is 14 lakhs, or 1,400,000. The words alankrite bhyo viprebhya indicate in Lord Krishna's kingdom the brahmanas were given nice clothes and ornaments and were thus well attired. In Krishna's Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada writes with striking and profound insight on these pastimes of Lord Krishna. So he's saying you should please read Krishna book. And so we're bringing it together with our lecture here. So I'll just quote one verse about these morning sacrifices. It's a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 5. Deva shibutapta niram pichinam nayam rinina kinkara charajan savatmana ye sharanam sharanyam gata makundam parihritikartum. So we are indebted to the demigods, the rishis, the forefathers. Prabhupada said the demigods, because they're giving us the sun, they're giving us water. Just like if electricity, you have to pay for electricity. So Indra is giving us water, you're supposed to pay for this water. You're supposed to pay for the light of the sun. Nobody thinks, because it all seems to be free, but actually we're meant to pay for that. And how do you pay? By doing sacrifice. So if you're not a devotee, you have so many debts to pay. And then the rishis, they have given us the scriptures. The ordinary living entities, like the cow, milk, we are indebted. And the forefathers, because they gave us this body. So that's why Lord Krishna, he would do this sacrifice just as regular grihastas in the Vedic times would every morning perform these sacrifices. So now, of course, it is not necessary as long as we are engaged in devotional service and chanting Hare Krishna. Then everything, all our debts are paid. Krishna book, Prabhupada says, as it is said in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has no specific duty to perform in this world, and yet he acts just like an ordinary man, living an ideal life within this material world. In accordance with Vedic ritualistic principles, the Lord would offer respects to the demigods. So this is called tarpana, which means pleasing. One's forefathers may have to take a body on another planet, but by performance of this tarpana, they become very happy wherever they may be. It is the duty of householder to make his family members happy, and by following the tarpana system, he can make his forefathers happy also. So then the quality of Krishna is magnanimous, how he was giving in charity. Any person who is very charitably disposed is called magnanimous. When Krishna was reigning over Dwaraka, he was so magnanimous and charitably disposed, there was no limit to his charity. In fact, so great was his charity in Dwaraka, this is Nectar of Devotion, 29th quality. In Dwaraka, even the spiritual kingdom with all of its opulence of Chintamani, desire trees, and surabhi cows was surpassed. So what spiritual kingdom is that he's talking about? That is Goloka, actually. Yeah, it's amazing. Prabhupada says Dwarka is more, of course we know Dwarka is more opulent than Goloka, because it is Aishwarya. It is a place of Aishwarya, whereas Goloka is Mathurya. So here he mentions in Nectar of Devotion that Dwarka's opulence surpassed Goloka. There are desire trees from which anyone can take all kinds of fruits as much as he may desire. The land is made of touchstone, which when touched to iron will transform into gold. I wonder if there is any iron up there, actually. In Goloka, probably no iron anyway, but if there was, there's nothing left. In other words, although in the spiritual kingdom, the abode of Krishna, everything is wonderfully opulent, still when Krishna was in Dwaraka, his charity exceeded the opulences of Goloka, Vrindavan. Wherever Krishna is present, the limitless opulence of Goloka Vrindavan is automatically present. So then it describes how he had 16,108 forms in a palace with each queen. Not only was he happily living them in those palaces, he was giving from each palace 13,054 cows, not just one palace. So figure out how many cows that is every day. Now, for 1 year, just imagine how many cows, and where would all those cows go? You're out in the middle of the ocean there in Dwarka. Just to keep the cows there, you need such a huge place. And the Brahmanas must have had so many. Each day, from each palace, he was giving 13,054. 16 times 16,108. No one can estimate the value of such a large number of cows given in charity, but that was the system of Krishna's daily affairs while he was reigning in Dwarka. So interesting that in the morning he would do his meditation. He would please his forefathers, the demigods, everybody, and then he would give in charity. That was the first thing he would do as a grihasta. So imagine if somebody's a grihasta and has money, if he wants to follow, okay, that part he should follow. Giving charity to the Brahmins. Of course, if you are a Brahmin, then. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 21, quality 29. Nectar of Devotion, magnanimous. 29. Verse 10, Lord Krishna would offer obeisances to the cows, brahmanas, and demigods, his elders and spiritual masters, and all living beings, all of whom are expansions of his supreme personality. Then he would touch auspicious things. He would decorate his body, the very ornament of human society, with his own special clothes and jewelry, and with divine flower garlands and ointments. Purport. Srila Swami points out the Lord's own garments and ornaments include the Lord's well-known yellow garments, the Kaustupa gem, and so on. Krishna book. Prabhupada makes one comment. It is said the ornaments themselves became beautiful upon being placed on the transcendental body of the Lord. 12. He would then look at ghee, a mirror, the cows and bulls, the brahmanas and demigods, and see to it the members of all the social classes living in the palace and throughout the city were satisfied with gifts. Not only did he give to the brahmanas, all social classes he gave gifts to. So who can imitate Krishna? Who can even give gifts to one person every morning in this age of Kali? After this, he would greet his ministers, gratifying them by fulfilling all their desires. 13. After first distributing flower garlands, pan, and sandalwood paste to the brahmanas, he would give these gifts to his friends and ministers and wives, and finally he would partake of them himself. By then the Lord's driver would have brought his supremely wonderful chariot, yoked with Sugriva and his other horses. His charioteer would bow down to the Lord and then stand before him. Holding on to his charioteer's hands, Lord Krishna would mount the chariot together with Satyaki and Uddhava, just like the sun rising over the easternmost mountain. I wonder how they would know which palace to meet him. I guess it didn't matter which one they went to. Somehow it worked. Anyway, it's not for me to figure out that. Purport. The Acharyas point out that the Lord's chariot driver would stand with joined palms, and the Lord, holding on to his joined hands with his right hand, would mount the chariot. I guess they would just have to follow Daruka, and then they'd know where to go. Daruka. I'll tell you a few things about Daruka from Nectar of Devotion, chapter 37. The first symptom of anubhava, or engagement in a particular type of service, exemplified by Daruka, a servant of Krishna who used to fan Krishna with a chamara, a bunch of hair. When he was engaged in such service, he was filled with ecstatic love, and the symptoms of ecstatic love became manifest in his body. But Daruka was so serious about his service that he checked all of these manifestations of ecstatic love and considered them hindrances to his engagement. He did not care very much for these manifestations, although they automatically develop. So maybe he was trembling, but he was still trying to do the chamara nicely, even though he was shaking or he was crying and he couldn't see Krishna properly, so he's just wiping away the tears and doing. One devotee told Daruka, the servant of Krishna, "My dear Daruka, when you become like wood because of your separation from Krishna, it is not so wonderful. Whenever any devotee sees Krishna, his eyes become filled with water, and in separation, any devotee like you would become stunned, standing just like a wooden doll. That is not a very wonderful thing." So now he's mounting his chariot. Verse 16, the palace women would look upon Lord Krishna with shy, loving glances, and thus he would get free from them only with difficulty. He would then set off, his smiling face captivating their minds. Purport. Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti describes the scene as follows. The shy, loving glances of the palace women hinting at their agitation implied, "How can we tolerate this torment of being separated from you?" The idea here is that because the Lord was captured by their affection, he smiled, indicating, "My dear restless ladies, you are so overwhelmed by this little bit of separation. I'm coming back later today to enjoy with you." And then, with his smile captivating their minds, he got away only with difficulty, freeing himself from the bondage of their loving glances. 17. The Lord, attended by all the Vrishnis, would enter the Sudharma assembly hall, which protects those who enter it from the 6 waves of material life. Dear King. Purport. Srila Prabhupada writes, it may be remembered that the Sudharma assembly house was taken away from the heavenly planet and was re-established in the city of Dwaraka. The specific significance of the assembly house was that anyone who entered it would be free from the 6 kinds of material pangs, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death. These are the whips of material existence, and as long as one remained in that assembly house of Sudharma, he would not be affected by these 6 material whips. So at least we know, if you speak Bhagavatam, if you're in Bhagavatam class, then Yamaraj is attending, so you should not die. And you should not, and also it has the effect of making you free from envy and fear, as long as you're in the Bhagavad, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So we can do that every morning. Either come here, go to the temple also. In this regard, Srila Swami and Vishwanath Chakravarti explain, when Lord Krishna would exit separately from each of his many palaces, each individual form would be visible to the persons present on those particular palace grounds and to the neighboring residents, but not to others. Then at the gateway path of the Sudharma assembly hall, all the forms of the Lord would merge into a single form, and thus he would enter the hall. That means he must have had 16,108 chariots. Up at the hall, they would merge. Satyaki Uddhava, they would also expand and go on the chariot with him. Okay. Daruka. Verse 18. As the Almighty Supreme Lord would seat himself upon his exalted throne there in the assembly hall, he shone with his unique effulgence, illuminating all the quarters of space. Surrounded by the yadus, lions among men, the best of the yadus appeared like the moon amidst many stars. What was the color of Krishna's effulgence? I've heard many descriptions of the color actually of his effulgence. Blue, yes. Sapphire blue. So this color would be spreading. Whenever you would see Krishna, you would see this effulgence coming, this bluish, blackish, sapphire color. So it was actually illuminating all quarters of space. And so he was like the moon, and then the rest are all like the stars, the yadus. And there, O king, jesters would entertain the Lord by displaying various comic moods. Expert entertainers would perform for him, and female dancers would dance energetically. So, very interesting Parliament house. You would go to work. I mean, that's his work. He would have to go to the assembly house and whatever they do there. But first, before making all the laws and getting to business, you would have entertainment. the court jesters, and the entertainers, the drama, the dancers. And purport, Vishwanath Chakravarti points out the word Natacharya refers, among other things, to expert magicians. All these different entertainers, one after another, would perform for the Lord in the assembly of great kings. Yes, we were hearing also the remembrances of Rasagya, who just left her body. She was an actress, and she used to perform drama, Vaikuntha players. And then at one point, Prabhupada told them they should do a drama every day for Krishna. So, in New York Temple, Henry Street. So that was in the evening, I heard. It was in the evening, and they would take them hours to put on their makeup and get their costumes. And every evening, they would do a 15-minute drama for the deities in New York Temple. And Prabhupada told them to do that. So it was kind of like what's happening here. Every day there was a different drama for Krishna. She just left her body. No, I think when they changed temples, I don't know. Then they started traveling. When they were staying in New York, then they used to do that. These performers would dance and sing to the sounds of mridangas, veenas, murajas, flutes, cymbals, and conch shells, while professional poets, chroniclers, or panegyrists would recite the Lord's glories. It would, I think in Jagannath Puri, they were doing dramas for the deities also every day at some point. And I don't know if they still do that now, but I did read somewhere where they were doing, they do sing, and they sing this Gita Govinda every day for the deities. And they used to dance. I don't think they dance anymore. They used to do dramas. And so it was part of even the deity worship at some point, yeah?
In
Tirupati.
Every dress new
So there's some musical entertainment greeting the deities at Tirupati.
All those who fell asleep at the camp, they had a japa.
So those who are chanting japa, they wake up. Yes, we should start that. Right.
In Mayapur, Prabhupada started that.
Shanai. Yeah, at sunrise, I think. Sunrise, there would be Shanai. Shanai is this Indian instrument. And they made a place for them over the gate at Mayapur, where they would sit up there. They would sit up at the gate. I saw them, live performance. They would sit up on the top of the gate and they would play every morning. And now, of course, they have just tapes or whatever. Yeah.
Srirangam, they do morning and night.
Srirangam?
Play
Veena.
They
Srirangam.
glorify Rangana.
They glorify and play with Veena. Yes. I was told also prayers of personified Vedas is sung in some temple also to wake up the Lord. Especially after the Chaturmasya. But I think every day. Yeah, so this is actually the deity worship follows the day of Krishna. Of course, we are worshipping Krishna as a cowherd boy. We're in Vrindavan, so Krishna's day in Vrindavan is different from his day in Dwaraka. He goes out. I don't know if it's simpler. He goes out and he herds the cows all day and he plays with the gopis and he does many different things. So the deity worship is supposed to follow the day of Krishna. So the different artis, the different offerings, the Bhog arti, Krishna's lunch, he's out there eating lunch. Evening arti shayan, putting him to sleep. If you're a pujari, you wake him up, you put him to sleep again we used to make them sleep, but not in their beds at 12:30, 1 o'clock. And then wake them up at 3:30 in the afternoon. Yeah. And then again, change their clothes at night and then put them to rest. So it follows, the deity worship follows. And the evening arti is when Krishna comes home and there's entertainment at Nanda Maharaja's house while he's having his dinner and there's a lot of entertainment going on. So we're the entertainment at evening arti for Krishna. Yeah, I don't know Nandagram. I'm saying in Goloka. I don't know about Nanda. Yeah, I meant Goloka in Goloka Vrindavan. Yeah. Okay. 21. Some brahmanas sitting in that assembly hall would fluently chant Vedic mantras, while others recounted stories of past kings of pious renown. So we've got all these entertainers, we've got the Brahmins chanting very auspicious mantras going on. It's quite a lot of things going on there. But now something is going to happen. Business. Once a certain person arrived in the assembly, O king, who had never been seen there before. The doorkeepers announced him to the Lord and then escorted him inside. So before we find out what happened, there's another quality of Krishna, quality number 49 in chapter 22, and that is all honorable. A person who is chief among all important persons is called all honorable. When Krishna was living at Dwaraka, demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Indra, King of Heaven, and many others used to come to visit him. The doorkeeper, who had to manage the entrance of all these demigods, one very busy day said, "My dear Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, please sit down on this bench and wait. My dear Indra, please stop reading your prayers. This is creating a disturbance. Please wait silently. My dear Varuna, please go away. And my dear demigods, do not waste your time uselessly. Krishna is very busy. He cannot see you." So this is what's happening in Dwaraka. The demigods are being refused at the door because Krishna is too busy to see them. Poor demigods. They're not used to this kind of treatment. That's why, they have to do so many things to try to get to see Krishna. Mahavishnu, you'll have to steal those Brahmana's sons just to get to darshan of Krishna. It's not easy to get into Dwaraka. So somehow this person got in. Verse 23. That person bowed down to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and with joined palms he described to the Lord how a number of kings were suffering because Jarasandha had imprisoned them. 20,000 kings who had refused to submit absolutely to Jarasandha during his world conquest had been forcibly imprisoned by him in the fortress named Giri Vraja. Purport. Shri Vishnu Chakravarti points out that these kings refused the payment of tribute and other forms of submission to Jarasandha. Also, there is a well-known account in the Mahabharata and other literature that Jarasandha desired to worship Mahabhairava by offering him the lives of 100,000 kings in sacrifice. So he was collecting kings to be offered in sacrifice. Mahabhairava is who? Lord Shiva? Shiva. In the form of a dog. Oh. Mahabhairava. It sounds very fearful. Almost like Bhaya. So he wanted to do the sacrifice. These kings refused to submit, and therefore he captured them and he put them into prison in Giri Vraja. So we will stop here. And any questions or comments on these verses so far? Yes. All desires of everyone, all social classes. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. Yeah. He's fulfilling desire of all living entities. Yeah. So that's why it's easy for him to fulfill he's already doing it. But the problem is that Krishna is doing everything, but people are not aware of it. So when you become Krishna conscious, then you just become aware that Krishna is maintaining you and how he is maintaining everyone. It's Krishna consciousness, becoming aware of Krishna. Any other questions or comments? Prashanta. Session of Kanva. Yeah. You know about that, Adi Purush? I don't know about that. Kanva Muni.
One of the branches of
Uh-huh.
the ascension.
So one of the branches where the Vedas are transmitted.
So it's Shaka.
Ah, that's it. Yes, his guru is Sandapani Muni, so therefore you can trace it back from Sandapani. That's a good.
What's Sandipani Muni?
His Krishna's guru. So Kanva, he must be in the Kanva line. Passed down. They didn't translate in those days. They just spoke in Sanskrit.
There were some Vedas were transmitted.
Over 13,000 sampradayas through which the Vedas were transmitted. Branches.
Each few survived.
Only a few survived up to today.
That's one of the reasons.
Okay, the old Vedas are not a reliable source of information because only a portion survived according to Jiva Goswami.
So that's why Bhagavatam.
Yeah. That's why Smriti is more reliable. Bhagavatam is more reliable than the Vedas at this point in time. Kali Yuga. Smriti. They're searching for the Vedas. They cannot. Because it was by word of mouth. Yeah, they are searching. Very good. Branch. Branch. Shaka means branch. Interesting. Oh, finally they're realizing something that is worthwhile. The Vedas are to put in the museum. So Vedas are for museum. They are museum piece. Yes, that is the idea. Not for everyday life. Not for applying to your life.
So Kanva means some name of
It's the name of a rishi, Kanva Muni.
Kanva Muni was a chariot.
They only see from their own palace, not from
So this
another
is
one.
a neighboring.
Yeah, who's next to his palace? Not next to his next door neighbors, if he has any. I don't know. I never read it. I never heard it.
To visit another palace because she can see another Krishna.
I know about that.
So I will show you this place in front of Sutra.
No, you can only see from your own neighborhood. The neighborhood. If you are at Sudharma, then you only see the one Krishna you only see one.
What is going on?
Yeah, they are limited. Their vision is limited also.
Limited also. So nobody can see.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know what the demigods see. If whatever Krishna reveals, that's what they see.
But what Narada Muni saw of
Narada Muni got special.
these things,
You have said that this is
Yeah,
nobody could
nobody could see.
anywhere.
Yeah,
This was under
yeah,
yoga.
yeah. They couldn't even find the way to another palace, even if you try.
the palace is so big. It was so
Not the
big.
palace. The roads were bewildering, like a maze. You know what a maze is? M-A-Z-E. Maze.
And,
That's his wives. His wives are being mentioned in the Bhagavatam. Only the queens.
Only the queens.
They're being mentioned. Any other questions or comments? Yes?
This Mahabhairava means like
Carrier.
Dog as carrier.
I thought it was bull, Nandi.
Oh, Nandi.
But his original carrier is.
He has more than one.
Here Mahabhairava, he has the dog.
Okay, as Mahabhairava, the dog is his carrier.
Dog is
So this Mahabhairava is not Shiva, but Shiva.
Shiva's in a different form. Just like Durga can be Kali, can be, form of Kali, Vaishnavi, so many forms.
But I never heard about this Mahabhairava.
Now you have.
Form of the dog. The dog.
A form of the dog, I don't know.
He has.
No, it's not. He is a dog, but the dog is his
He will be
carrier.
carried by dog.
Yeah. Prashant.
He has that dog with him.
Dog is with him. So does Dattatreya. Okay? And so it may be his like Hanuman temples,
Like he has dog with him. That is I saw.
Dattatreya keeps dog.
Yeah, Dattatreya. Yeah, also in Nepal, there's a temple I went to a temple of Dattatreya. There was 5-6 dogs. Not in, but outside. Dattatreya also has dogs too. Okay, any other questions or comments? I think at this point we should stop before we get to... Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.